Welcome to Scale the Chaos podcast, where we talk all things contributing to your organization's chaos and dysfunction. I'm Rhonda Lea, founder of Scale the Chaos. Today's guest is Mark Stiving, a pricing expert and advisor who educates and advises companies on value-based pricing. He is also the author of 3 books: Impact Pricing, Win, Keep, Grow, and Selling Value. Welcome, Mark. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Rhonda. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners and help us understand what the journey was for you in becoming this pricing expert.
It's pretty fascinating because nobody grows up wanting to be a pricing expert. Can I just say that?
Yes. Yeah.
So it turns out, go back in college, I had a degree in electrical engineering. I worked as a salesperson and I failed. I was horrible as a salesperson. And eventually I decided to go back to school to change my career. So I wanted to get an MBA. Fell in love with going to school. I don't know if you know this, but when you go to school not hungover, you can learn a lot.
Wow.
I just enjoyed school so much. I asked my wife if I could get into Berkeley or Stanford, could I get a PhD? And she said yes, thinking they would never accept me. But luckily, I got into Berkeley. I have a PhD in marketing, but I
Okay.
always say pricing
Okay.
because my dissertation was on 99 cents.
Okay. And I
Why
read
does
that in your about you, and I want to talk about that too. But anyways, sorry.
happy to, happy to. So I was curious, why does this 9 cent thing work? So fast forward a whole bunch of years, and I became addicted to knowing how people use prices to make decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all about, once you understand how people or companies make these decisions, what decisions should companies make to be able to deliver and capture more of the value that we're giving to our customers?
Excellent. So help us understand, first of all, how is it that you define pricing strategy?
God, I don't even know the answer to that question.
Well, that was a waste of a PhD. No, we're just kidding. I'm
Yeah, it was,
totally
wasn't
kidding.
it? So I've been working in pricing for so long now, and I'm about to redefine what I think pricing strategy means for the industry. And so there's this phrase called value-based pricing,
Uh-huh.
which a lot of us pricing people, we argue about what does it really mean and how do you think about it and what do you do? And so I think real pricing strategy, I'm going to rename my pricing strategy as context-driven pricing.
Okay.
And context driven pricing simply means we charge what a buyer is willing to pay.
Yes. And
Now, it
no
turns out that
less.
I
Otherwise, you're
know
leaving money on the table.
exactly. Now,
Yeah.
it turns out it's impossible to do that perfectly,
Yes.
but different buyers value things differently. Do we
Mm-hmm.
understand what that is? Or different buyers find themselves in different situations. And when it's raining, I prefer an umbrella. When it's not raining, I don't need to buy an umbrella.
Exactly.
And so there's real context around how much should we charge for certain things at what times. And so that's what I think real pricing strategy is saying, okay, got it. I can't price every customer, every situation, but how do I organize that in a way that makes sense so that I can operationalize it for my company and at the same time make more money as I'm selling my products?
And identifying those times when your products might be worth more, right? A bottle of water is going to be worth a lot more in the middle of the desert than in the middle of the tropics.
Here, let me pile on. A
Yes.
bottle of water is worth more inside a TSA pre-check than
Oh,
outside
yes.
a TSA
Oh,
pre-check.
absolutely. Absolutely. Because I don't care how many drinking fountains there are, those always taste disgusting, even if you take through the empty water bottle and refill it. But yes, absolutely. So let's talk about, because I'm most curious about this, so I think I would hope that our listeners are as well. What are some of the most common pricing mistakes that you see businesses make?
So you're going to hear a common theme through everything we talk about.
Okay.
And that is the single biggest mistake that companies make is they don't understand the value of what they deliver to their customers.
Yes.
That's it. And once you can truly understand what does value mean to customers, then we can make much, much better pricing decisions. But
Uh-huh.
I've worked with so many companies and so many individuals, and I can tell you that it is extremely rare that someone can help me understand what does value mean without me prying it out of them.
You mean like somebody that you're consulting or advising, correct? You're prying it out of them. So what are some of the techniques that you use to pry that out of them?
So my favorite tool
Uh-huh.
is called a value table.
Okay.
So a value table is all around you've got a feature, you've got a product, you built this product because it solves a problem for a customer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you articulate the problem that it solves?
And we learned because we were in a meeting together that you presented at a couple of days ago, and you asked that question, and you had people anonymously submit their answers. And it was interesting. And even myself, most of the answers were not problems. You're like, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. That's a solution. That's not a problem. That's, even I was like, oh, yeah, duh. I know what a problem is. How come I didn't? Yeah. So it is super easy for people to jump to the solution before they've even completely identified the problem.
I find it amazing that people can't do the problem.
Uh
And if
huh.
there's a single reason, right? My favorite excuse or reason for that is the curse of knowledge.
Yes.
It's the fact that we know so much about our products that we've forgotten what it's like to not know. We
Yes.
can hear a feature, we can hear a product, and we're like, oh, of course it does that.
Uh
Right?
huh.
Our customers don't know that. And our customers don't think in terms of our features. Our customers think in terms of their problems and their aspirations or results they're trying to get.
Yes. And oftentimes we forget that we are solving a problem the customer isn't even aware that they have or that they want a solution for. Right. And so we act from this place. Of course, the customer is going to want this. Of course, this is going to be valuable to the customer. And it is, but the customer isn't even aware of that yet.
Absolutely. So one of the things I put in the book selling value, and by the way, I'm not trying to sell books, okay?
Yeah.
But one of the things I put in the book selling value is I called it value-based prospecting.
Okay.
Okay. And so here's the question. When you have a solution, when you have a product, does it solve a problem for a customer?
Uh
Well,
huh.
it better. So the next level of prospecting is, does the buyer even know they have the problem?
Yes. Yeah.
The next level is the buyer trying to solve that problem.
Uh huh.
And then the next level is an important problem. So they've prioritized solving that problem. They
Yes.
put budget behind it. And so you could imagine that I have a product that solves a problem, but nobody knows that they have the problem.
Yes.
And so now I've got to go teach people about the problem. On the other hand, you could imagine I have a product that solves a problem that everybody is trying to go solve.
Mm hmm.
And now so it's much, much easier for me to go sell it and communicate it and talk about it. When we start thinking about what is that problem that we're solving for customers, it helps us think through what should we be doing in terms of marketing. By the way, I know we're supposed to be talking about pricing.
No,
To
no,
me,
it's
it's
all
all the
related.
same
It's all
thing.
the same thing. Matter of fact, because I left our meeting on Saturday and I was like, he was basically talking sales funnels and marketing. And yeah, because it's all related. It's all the same thing.
I'm I'm
Forget.
going to
But yeah, keep going.
pile onto what I just said and what you just said, if that's okay.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
And that is this: as a pricing expert,
Mm-hmm.
my job is to understand how people value products.
Yes.
And so I go out and I figure out how you value any given product.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the question: shouldn't marketing and sales know that too? Because
Yes.
they have to communicate the value. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
trying to put a price on it. They have
Yeah.
to communicate the value.
Communicate it. Absolutely. Yeah.
Shouldn't engineering product management know that too? Because they
Mm-hmm.
have to decide what products we're going to go build next.
And they have to decide, is the cost gonna be worth the price, the value, right? Because oftentimes, yeah, this is a great product, but it's gonna cost way more to produce than you can actually sell it for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it turns out, in my view of the world, once we understand what does value really mean,
Mhm.
absolutely it helps us with pricing and a ton of
Yeah.
different pricing strategies, but it helps us run our entire company better. Everybody should be thinking, what's the value that our customers get from our products?
Yeah. I'm seeing this with all of this AI innovation, right? And when we start talking about, especially if we're talking about disrupting industries, being innovative, being creative, and a lot of times we are solving problems that our customers never dreamed that they would want a solution to. Who would have ever thought, hey, my problem is that I don't have a program that will generate images for me, or I don't have a program that will write my marketing posts for me, or whatever it is. And yet we're eating it up, right?
Can I use this opportunity to teach one of many different lessons that I like to teach?
Absolutely.
And that is the difference between a solution and a platform.
Okay.
So what's fascinating about AI today is that it is truly a platform.
Uh-huh.
I give ChatGPT their $20 a month
Yep.
because I don't really know what I want to do with ChatGPT, but I
Uh-huh.
want to play with it a ton. And there's going to be
Yes.
something valuable. And by the way, it gives me value often.
Yes. More than
So
$20, I would assume.
exactly.
Yes. Mm.
So it's certainly worth the $20 a month.
Yes.
But the fact that I don't really know what I want to do, the fact
Uh-huh.
that it isn't really obvious, what if instead, in fact, you see a lot of companies and applications that do this today,
Uh-huh.
they say, my job is to help you write better. So
Yes.
you write blogs, you write posts, you write books, you write whatever, white papers. I exist to help you write better. By the way,
Yes.
I also pay a company called Grammarly,
Yes.
which uses AI to help fix all my grammar errors when I write
Yes.
something.
Uh-huh.
Okay. But now that's a solution.
Mm-hmm.
When we're selling a solution, it is much, much easier for us to understand the value of it to our customers.
Absolutely. But in order to come up with the solution, we need to know what the problem is, correct?
Absolutely. So
Okay.
let me give you an example that we all use and live by, and that's LinkedIn.
Uh-huh.
Right? So LinkedIn is resume storage and search.
Yes.
Right. So I can put my resume up and I can look for other people and blah, blah, blah. Got it. Got it. Got it. Turns out LinkedIn created market segments, or they created solutions for specific market segments.
Uh-huh.
One of those market segments is recruiters.
Yes.
They get paid. In fact, their pricing for recruiters is about 10 times their pricing for anybody else
Uh-huh.
in the company. That's because recruiters get so much value out of having the capabilities that they offer to them.
Yes. Yeah.
So they've got this big platform. What they've done is they've said, here's a specific problem for a specific market segment. Let me craft a solution around that.
Mm-hmm.
Let me talk to recruiters. Let me tell them why they want LinkedIn, what problems we're going to solve for them.
Yeah.
And because of that, they get to charge a lot of money.
Yes.
And
Because the
so,
value goes up.
exactly, because they're talking about the value, not about the platform, not about the
Yes.
features.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk really quickly about how pricing errors or a lack of pricing strategy even can contribute to organizational chaos and even hinder growth.
Interesting question.
Yes.
So, what ends up happening is so many companies think about, oh, I've got to put a price on my product.
Mm-hmm.
Notice what I just said. I have to put a price
Uh-huh.
on my product.
Instead of a value.
Yes, but
Yeah.
instead of saying I need to price my products based on how much value my customers are getting,
Yes.
different customers get different value in different situations. How do I start to craft this strategy that makes more sense?
Mm-hmm.
So compare pricing ChatGPT at $20 a month to pricing LinkedIn Recruiter
Yeah.
at thousands of dollars a month for
Yes.
decent sized companies.
Uh-huh.
And so what they've done, what LinkedIn has done is said, hey, I've got a specific market segment, a specific problem set. I'm going to go sell that. And we see this all the time. So the pricing strategy has to move beyond what's the price I'm going to put on my product
Yeah.
to how am I going to set my market segments up so that I know these people are all solving a similar problem. And once I understand that problem, once I understand that market segment, then we move into how do I craft a product portfolio?
Yes.
Because even if you go to LinkedIn for recruiters, they've got good, better, best products.
Mm-hmm.
And so some recruiters are very price sensitive and they buy the good, and some recruiters aren't price sensitive and they buy the best. But LinkedIn is able to get that good, better, best pricing because of identifying that market segment. And then lastly, we take a look at, and I don't know that LinkedIn does this or not, but we take a look at any given product and say, hey, we're going to have a Black Friday sale.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to offer a discount on this day to capture price sensitive customers.
Uh-huh.
Or we haven't listed prices. And so now I'm talking to someone who I know needs my product really a whole lot.
Yeah.
And I can charge them more than I would charge most other people just because they
Need
want
it.
more. They
Yeah.
need more. They're going to get more value from it.
Yes.
And so once we start thinking that way, there's so much money for us to go pick up. There's so many decisions for us to make around pricing, but it's all based on what's the value to the customer.
Yeah. And several years ago, I worked for an organization that will remain unnamed. And I was over the operations and I was constantly in conflict because I was also over all of the sourcing of the products. And I was constantly in conflict with sales because they said, our pricing is too high, our pricing is too high. I saw the value in it, mostly not just because I was sourcing the products and the raw materials, and I actually knew the price to produce the product. But I saw the value, and while I wasn't over sales, I was constantly trying to work with them and say, stop apologizing to our customers as for our pricing, and rather start communicating the value of the product, and then you won't have any problem whatsoever selling this product. And it was a true source of conflict between the operations and the sales team, because they just wanted to be able to sell it. Of course, if we're giving it away, and you get commission for everyone you give away, yeah, it'll be easier for you to make your commissions. And so it was very, very frustrating, because they just, for whatever reason, did not understand this concept of communicating the value of the product.
Absolutely right. And so what has to happen in those situations is we have to teach our salespeople, what does value mean?
Mhm.
Because we can sit around and say, go sell the value, but like you saw in that meeting, we don't know the value.
Yeah.
How do we expect them to know the value? The
Yes.
product management team, the people who built the product, don't know the value.
Yes.
How do we expect them to go teach that to the salespeople? So we
Mhm.
truly have to do a deep dive to say, what is the value? How do we go sell that to our customers?
Yes.
And then the other thing we really need to do as salespeople is we need to compensate them not on revenue.
Yes.
We need to compensate them on something that's correlated with margin. Now, I'm not a huge fan of giving salespeople our cost information, but there are techniques and tools we can use to say, hey, if you sell at this price or below, your
Yeah.
commission rate goes down.
Yeah. Exactly.
You sell at this rate and above, your commission, you get a much higher commission rate. And so we need to give them the incentive to say, look, I need to hold price.
Uh-huh.
And how do you hold price? You sell value.
Yep, exactly. So another huge struggle that I have seen with organizations that I work with is who owns pricing. And every organization that I have ever worked for, I know you're laughing because this is like the overall like running issue, right? And every department has a reason why they should own it, and specific reasons why each other department shouldn't own it. So let's talk about who owns pricing.
Yeah, this is a very hard question
Mhm.
because nobody knows the answer. There isn't a single answer that says, here's the right answer.
Yeah.
In a startup company, there's an easy right answer,
Yes.
and that is the CEO has to own pricing.
Okay.
So as you first launch, you're probably running product management, you're probably running product
Mhm.
development, you're running
Yeah,
a lot
running
of
it
things in the
all.
company, but you know why the company exists. You know what the value is to the customer.
Mhm.
You have to own pricing.
Yes.
Right?
Okay.
But as you start to grow, you get to 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, then you as the CEO have so many other things to worry about. You no
Mhm.
longer need to worry about pricing. You've got processes in place.
Uh-huh.
Now, the sad thing is, this is about the time where companies start to think about cost plus pricing,
Yes.
which is the bane of my world.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yes.
but the nice thing about cost plus pricing is accounting can do it.
Yep.
I don't need somebody who knows the marketplace and understands customers. I can get accounting to do it. So
Yeah.
we get that place that way. But it just happens to be a horrible decision to
Yes.
make that happen. I personally think that what we need to do is start moving it in towards product management. So the people who create the products
Uh-huh.
are the ones who understand what's the value to the customer, why do we build this, how are we going to do pricing.
Yeah.
So product management needs to have a big role in it. In the world of SaaS nowadays, because we typically build a product and then product management is worried about what's the next feature, how are we going to build the next thing. They're not worried about the overall product as much.
Uh-huh.
There, I would probably move it to product marketing, because product marketing is now thinking about how am I going to configure the products? What's my good, better, best packaging going to look like?
Yeah.
How do I get prices to raise? Who's buying it? Why are they buying it? Where's the value? So I typically would move it to product marketing at that point in time.
Okay.
And the only other place I would ever consider putting it
Uh-huh.
is finance.
Yeah.
But finance has to do it from a consulting perspective, not an
Mhm.
accounting perspective.
If we like, here's the break even point, basically, we cannot sell it any less than this amount, or we will lose money.
Yeah, but I would go much farther than that, right? You're
Okay.
absolutely right that they need to be able to say, look, here's the minimum we're ever going to sell it for.
Mhm.
But they need finance, they manage risk and they
Uh-huh.
care a ton about margin. How do we
Yes.
get margin to go up?
Yes.
And so what they could be doing is hiring pricing people inside their company to run almost like internal consulting organization
Okay.
to say, how do we get the right packaging in place? How do
Yeah.
we decide what market segments we're going after? How do we raise prices on which customers? And by the way, we haven't talked about raising prices yet, which is an awesome topic we should
Yeah,
talk
we'll hit that next. Yeah. Well, but and what you're talking about in most organizations that I have worked with, they have left those decisions to marketing. What marketing segments, what are the packages going to look like, that type of thing. Is that not where those decisions belong?
So what packages we build should almost always be in either marketing or product management.
Okay. Yeah.
The thing is, just as you and I talked about in the beginning of this conversation, marketing doesn't think about value when they make those decisions.
Yes. Yeah.
And so what you need is somebody inside the company who says, we're putting a value foundation in this entire company. And so how
Yes.
do we do that? I love finance people. I love CFOs because they have power. They have access to all of the data in the company.
Uh-huh.
And
Or you
and
would
so
hope.
yeah, exactly.
Because that's a whole other podcast, by the way, podcast topic.
and and so the CFO actually has the ability to say, hey, we're going to bring this consultant in and talk to that marketing team.
Uh-huh.
We're going to bring this consultant in and work with that product management team.
Yeah.
And by the way, when I say bring in this consultant, it doesn't necessarily mean hire a consultant.
Yeah.
It could mean we've created a pricing team inside our
Yeah.
company, and I want them to act as internal consultants
Yes.
to go work with different departments, different divisions, so that
And
we
I
can.
like that idea. I like that idea of having people specific, that's all they do is value pricing. Because one of the biggest reasons that people give for a certain team to not own pricing is they some sort of conflict of interest. Thanks for joining me today, Mark. This has been so much fun. If anybody out there is interested in Mark's books, check them out for more strategies and insights on pricing. And where can they find your books, Mark? I know that you're not selling them, but if somebody were to be curious and interested in buying one of your books, where could they go?
You can get them on Amazon. Two of them are only available on Amazon, so I would go there.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. And for more information on how you can scale your chaos in your organization, head on over to my website, scalethechaos.com. You can also find our podcast on scalethechaos.com/podcast. I'm Rhonda Lea. We'll chat more next time. Thank you.